Thank you for joining us tonight for the Heart, Brain, and Society. I'm Barb Matheson, Executive Director of the Center for Investigating Healthy Minds, and we're honored to be co-sponsoring this event with Turgar. We're thrilled to share this incredible opportunity to hear from the leading voice in bringing the wisdom of Tibet into our modern world, His Holiness the 17th Karmapa Orgen Trinley Dorje. His Holiness will be joined by Richie Davidson, who's led the world's research in the study of well-being from a neuroscience perspective, and is a friend, mentor, and teacher to many of us, and my very cool boss. Sona Dimidian, who's a new friend to me, but a good close colleague of Richie, who's leading really brilliant work in the link between neuroscience and well-being, and Dan Goleman, who's the person who's changed the world through his groundbreaking work in emotional intelligence. These four extraordinary people have never been in the same room together, and it's likely they may not be again, so this is really a once-in-a-lifetime experience for us. There's so many beautiful teachings from His Holiness, one of them being to encourage us to continually open our hearts and minds and appreciate what he refers to as the small symbols of happiness in every breath. So I'd like to begin by just taking a few moments to settle in, open your hearts and minds to this incredible evening so that we can truly take in the teachings that come out of this dialogue and bring them forward, as His Holiness says, to sink into the work you are here to do in the world. So why don't we just take a moment. Thank you. So I do understand that I'm the only thing between this wonderful dialogue and the rest of the evening. But my job is to give you a brief overview of Turgar and the Center for Investigating Healthy Minds. So let me do that, and then we'll get to the heart of the program. For those of you who are familiar with Turgar, and I see many of you here, which is very heartwarming, you know what an incredible community Turgar is and how it's changed the lives for so many people around the world. But for those of you who don't know much about Turgar, let me tell you 5 cool things about Turgar. One, its mission is to bring the ancient practice of meditation to today's world in a way that's accessible for people like me and for many of us. It's guided by Mingyur Rinpoche, a Tibetan monk with very deep training in meditation and passion about Western science. He's currently on retreat, but we were relieved to hear he's safe in Nepal. Currently, Turgar International has built an impressive global reach with more than 50 meditation centers in over 20 countries, with Madison being one of the largest. The training of Turgar offers is secular, and the name of their main curriculum is called The Joy of Living. Turgar offers a weekly meditation group here in Madison, at the crossings, as well as other classes and retreats. And this Tuesday evening is free and open to anyone interested. Or you can join the over 10,000 people around the globe who participate in the online classes. So from my own personal experience, I've had the really wonderful opportunity to learn, and in my case, relearn many times on how to be a more kind, aware, compassionate, and happy human being in the world from so many gifted teachers, including many on the stage here tonight. But I believe Turgar has been the most helpful to me for a couple of reasons. It has a very simple but powerful focus on awareness, loving kindness, and insight, and more importantly, bringing these practices into everyday life. And secondly, the teachers that they have, the 4 key ones being here tonight, are also just incredible people doing incredible work. So it's also a very exciting time for the Center for Investigating Healthy Minds here at the University of Madison. Again, it's wonderful to look out and see so many of our friends and supporters in the audience, and I'm very grateful for you being here tonight. For those who don't know much about the center, our mission is to cultivate well-being and relieve suffering through a scientific understanding of the mind. The center was founded by Richie Davidson, who's one of our panelists tonight. Our ultimate goal, which is very aligned with Turgar's and tonight's session, is to move toward a more kind, compassionate world. And there's 3 ways that we work on that in our center. The first is through the basic and applied research to better understand the mind and how to cultivate well-being. And you may have read some of the scientific findings and publications that have been out recently, including the just released 2015 World Happiness Report that Richie and another one of our scientists authored one of the chapters on that. There's also been some publications recently on how compassion can be trained, how mind wandering can be improved by simple breath counting techniques, and many other publications. Most of the research, though, is based on the concept of neuroplasticity, the idea that the brain changes in response to experience. But that's led to this breakthrough idea that well-being is a skill that can be learned. The second pathway we're focused on is shifting the belief that exercise to nurture our minds will be embraced the same way that physical exercises and become normalized into our daily routine. And the third way is just beginning, but really exciting, and that includes bringing tools that have come out of the research that we've developed in the lab and bring them out into the world, things like curriculums and apps, video games and assessments, things that can help people improve their own well-being. So it's an amazing place, and if any of you are interested in learning more about it, let me know. I'd love to show you around or tell you more. So one of His Holiness teachings tells us that each person must find his or her own path, and he also suggests that we seek guidance from wise and compassionate people and listen to them earnestly. This will help us find the best way to proceed now and in the future. Here to introduce tonight's panelists is Courtland Dahl. Court is the chair of Turgar International, who works tirelessly on behalf of all of us to bring these teachings into the world. He's a PhD student also in our neuroscience lab, and we're just really incredibly fortunate to have him here in Madison. Please help me welcome Court.
Thank you. Thanks, Barb. It's such a tremendous honor to welcome all of you, and especially Your Holiness and your first visit to Madison, and to welcome all of you here tonight. As Barb mentioned, this really is a historic occasion, not only because we have these 4 individuals, but hopefully the first of many visits by His Holiness to the United States and to Madison in particular. So my job is just to give a brief introduction before our dialogue begins. So His Holiness the 17th Karmapa Orgyen Trungpa Dorje is a really remarkable individual. I'm sure many of you know a bit about his story. You might have heard about his departure from Tibet. And of course, he's the head of one of the major lineages of Tibetan Buddhism, the Karma Kagyu lineage. What you might not know is that he's an artist, he's a poet, he's an ardent activist and a progressive thinker. So he's not only an individual who's very much bringing the ancient wisdom of Tibetan Buddhism into the modern world, but I think also in some ways bringing the wisdom of the modern world into the traditional tradition of Tibetan Buddhism. And in particular, I think one of the things, or some of the things that have been very inspiring to me, and I know to many others, are his work on behalf of gender equality, protecting the environment, the protection and compassionate treatment of animals, and not only just advocating these positions verbally, but really taking action to make some real changes in very powerful ways. So it's a tremendous honor to have you with us, Your Holiness. Thank you so much for joining us. So next, I'd like to introduce Dr. Richard Davidson. So again, I think many of you are probably familiar with his work, but he received his PhD from Harvard University, but has spent most of his career here actually at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, where, as Barb said, he's the founder of the Center for Investigating Healthy Minds. He's published nearly 300 scientific articles. He's written numerous books, including the New York Times bestselling The Emotional Life of Your Brain. He was named one of Time Magazine's most 100 influential people in the world, and that's just a very short summary of the many honors and distinguishing features of his career. So it's a great honor also to have you with us, Richie. And next we have Dr. Sona Demidzian. So Sona, as well, is a very remarkable individual who has traditionally been trained as a clinical psychologist and is currently on faculty at the University of Colorado in Boulder. And she's been really at the forefront and a pioneer in understanding and researching depression, but specifically how depression affects women, and how ways that we can train the mind and train the heart, such as through compassion meditation and mindfulness meditation, might be able to alleviate depression and help those who really suffer and struggle with these forms of mental illness might be able to overcome a lot of this suffering. So it's a great honor also to have you with us, Sona. And last but not least, I would like to introduce our moderator for this evening, Dr. Dan Goleman. Like Richie, actually around the same time, he was at Harvard University and received his PhD at Harvard in the 1970s, and since then has been one of the leading thinkers and voices actually in many different domains. I think you're probably most familiar with his work as the author of Emotional Intelligence, which spent an astonishing year and a half on the New York Times bestseller list. He's most recently authored another book, many books, but most recently the book Focus. And he, like His Holiness, he's been a leading thinker in bringing together the spiritual, the meditative, environmental concerns, and many other issues. So, Dan, it's wonderful to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. So now I'll turn it over to Dan. He's going to be our moderator for this evening. So please join us again, welcoming our four distinguished guests.
So this evening we're going to have an intimate discussion here on stage, and we invite you to imagine you're in a living room and you're the fifth person in the living room. But before we start, I'd actually like to know who's in our living room. So let me ask you a question. How many people here are affiliated with Tirgar? How many are not? Oh, okay. And how many people do some kind of meditation practice, spiritual practice? How many not? Okay, well welcome to the living room, all of you. Tonight we're going to explore, as Court said, the Buddhist and scientific perspectives on well-being. And we're going to do it with some presentations by Richie and Sona and some responses, Your Holiness, from you. And then get into a general discussion. And this is part of a long tradition, a decades-long tradition now, of having science and Buddhism in dialogue. The Mind and Life Institute that Richie and I are both members of the board for has sponsored, 25, 26 of these by now. And Your Holiness, you've been a participant in the one in the environment in Dharamsala. So this is in that same long tradition. We'll start with Richie, who's going to present his perspective on being well, on well-being. And then we invite you to respond. Then Sona will do the flip side. Tyler, did you want to say something?
No, it's okay.
Yeah. Well, this reminds me, I would like to invite each of you at any point to stop what's going on and say, ask any question. Yeah. And Tyler, if you think a translation is in order, please go right ahead. No format. We're in a living room here. So take it easy. Yeah. Sona will be talking about the other side of well-being, not being well, being depressed, in fact. And then Richie's going to talk a bit about the human love of nature and how being in nature is so good for us. Then we're going to have a general discussion. So let me turn it over to Richie.
So Your Holiness, thank you so much for being here. It's really an honor to have you with us in Madison. And I feel blessed to work with, on a daily basis, to have colleagues like Court and Barb. We have a very auspicious opportunity here in Madison with both Tirgar and this center at the University of Wisconsin, and we will do everything we can to help through the scientific understanding of the mind to figure out ways to relieve suffering and to cultivate well-being. I'd like to share, Your Holiness, a perspective from neuroscience on well-being that a colleague of mine in our center, Brianna Schuyler, and I recently authored for a report that the United Nations sponsors each year for the last 3 years, and it's called the World Happiness Report. And it is mostly a survey of the well-being of different nations throughout the world. And it has been written for the last 3 years, for the last 2 years, by 3 economists. This year, for the first time, they have a non-economist who is also an author. So it has a slightly different perspective in some parts of it. And so from a neuroscience perspective, there are 4 components of well-being that we can identify. The first component is how quickly a person can recover from adversity, from a stressful experience, from something challenging that may occur. Some people recover very quickly, and other people recover much more slowly. And it turns out that this is very importantly related to how resilient a person is. A resilient person can recover more quickly. And we can track that in the brain.
Okay.
So we can track that in different circuits in the brain. So that's the first component. The second component of well-being from a neuroscience perspective is the flip side in many ways, the opposite of this, and that is the extent to which a person has a positive outlook, the extent to which, for example, they can remember that each person shares a wish to be happy and shares a wish to be free of suffering, and to carry that attitude with them in every encounter. And it turns out that there are other circuits in the brain that we can track that seem to be associated with this kind of disposition, a kind of positive outlook on life. So that's the second component. The third component is generosity. And there's now more and more hard-nosed scientific research that suggests that generosity can cultivate well-being. And there are scientific experiments that have been done where people are allowed to, for example, make donations, and they can do that while their brains are being monitored. And when they engage in activity of generosity, there are certain circuits in the brain that are activated. And so we know a little bit about that from a neuroscience perspective, and that seems to be a very key constituent of well-being. We also know from psychological experiments that if you bring people into the laboratory and you give them $100 and you say to them, please go spend this money on things you may have wanted to buy for yourself. And the only constraint is that you cannot spend any money on anybody else just for me. Just spend it on oneself. And then come back at the end of the day and report on your experience. Another group of people who are randomly assigned are given the same $100 and they're asked to go spend the money on other people. And they're told they can spend it on anyone they want. The only constraint is they cannot spend it on themselves, just for others. And at the end of the day, they report on their levels of happiness and well-being. And in many experiments with both children and adults, it's been found that when you spend money on others, you are much happier and you report higher levels of well-being than when you spend money for yourself. So that's the third component, generosity. The fourth component is related to mindfulness and attention. And here there's a lot of really interesting evidence. There's a recent major scientific paper that was published that took advantage of the fact that most people in the United States today have smartphones. And so they texted people and they asked them 3 questions. One question was, what are you doing right now? And from a list of activities you had to check. Second question, where is your mind right now? Is it focused on what you're doing or is it focused elsewhere? And the third question is, how happy or unhappy are you right now, at this moment? And what was found is that on average, in America today, 47% of the time, adults are not paying attention to what they're doing. 47% of the time. It's really quite amazing. And
I have to say, it's highest when people are at work, or commuting, or looking at a video screen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Another study that was just very recently published is a study that asked people to simply please wait and do nothing in particular while they waited. And they were given the option, they had activities that they could do, but they were told they didn't have to do anything. They should just please sit and wait for somewhere between 6 and 15 minutes and simply be with their own mind. And it turns out that the average American finds that to be problematic and finds it to be very difficult.
Yeah.
And among men, very different pattern in men and women, but among men, more than half the men, about 60% of the men, prefer to give themselves shocks than to simply rest for 15 minutes.
Shucks. Order. Good.
So this, I think, is indicative of the kind of attention deficit disorder that we all are suffering from, at least here in this culture, and where the role of, I think, contemplative practice comes into play. But the interesting thing in these studies is that when people report that their minds are not focused on what they're doing, they report themselves to be less happy.
Yes.
So that when we're focused on what we're doing, we report higher levels of well-being. So these 4 factors, the ability to recover quickly from adversity, the ability to have a positive outlook, expressing generosity, and having mindfulness in everyday life, those 4 constituents are important ones in our sense of well-being. So I'd like to just end this brief section by asking Your Holiness about what kinds of activities you might suggest for secular people who are not Buddhist that might be helpful in improving any one of these activities or in cultivating well-being.
Tadi 가지고다 다 등기디 다 공부송대하기 다 디기에서 말이야.
라레
다 디기 넘버 시서 말이야.
라레라
디기 다 용단서나 다도 다 디나네 베나다 나랑기 냠뇽을 세위나 다 나랑기 냠뇽 돈 세위나 안 디기 야망부시 등기디 generosity somewhere that dine tedan dana singi mindfulness teleya nga this kasreda nyamnyor this nyamnyor sanada do yana ti jaba chair bjong do song dos dini thon nge this shibina
Lasa?
dos meru som.
Well, from among the causes you listed of well-being, the ones that kind of more automatically resonated with me from a personal point of view or from my own experience were mindfulness and generosity. So I think maybe I'll focus my remarks on those 2 qualities.
I think also positive the
Positive
outlook. Sometimes that kasre bindang ye mizi nalolia tak kasre that 교화 망부 침bre 균도 망부 침bre 안다 강에 망부 십체 다 로충중이 미냐 다 강에 침부 십체 다 네 삼성 알아데 정도 this 갱고를 임비 초아를 지게도 가라서는 다지 창물로 좀 통사업을 치다. 다 가르쳐지. 류보드 춘주를 제대이네. 냠뇽 먹부사 인사. this 갱고를 전화로 정리도. 간다든지 토네 강에로 먹부 총비 인상. 이는 남균이 아티스트 가르쳐다 포지티브 섬으로. 다 상처 삼다 베는 미지리아 베차샤비네 미지 고르셰비네 아다지 미디 고지 가르쳐에 가르쳐다 그기지 상처는 삼동아당 다는 신기 그 교육촌 집어서는 마다치 나 삼배촌은 삼당 뉴스ane 엔디 토네 소설지 강에 섬으로 섬게 강에로 되게 중요해요. 그래서 전화해 온다.
Last time. From the point of view of my own life experience, when I reflect back on my own life and how it played out from the time I was young onward, I feel like I'm someone who has gone through a lot of drastic changes in their life from a young age onward and experienced a reasonably large amount of hardship from a young age onward. And that has cumulatively given me this experience of being, feeling like an older person, even though I might not be regarded as an older person conventionally speaking. And my body might have some attributes of youth left to it. But there's this feeling of being old from the point of view of having had these various experiences.
People feel also I'm old sometimes. then there's my old sister. Now they think this is my younger sister. Actually, she is 8 years older than me.
But what really resonates with me in terms of what you said is the importance of having a positive outlook or a positive attitude in the face of these hardships. I think in the case of any one individual person, we can see how they respond or adapt to adversity is largely dependent on what kind of habits they have in terms of the way they think. Whether if they have habits of thinking positive thoughts or thinking in a positive way, they can bounce back from those adversities much more easily. And conversely, if they have a habit of thinking in a negative way, then those adversities, the subjective experience of those adversities can be compounded very quickly.
The 미망고지 알이야. warning 되지. 다 그런지 서서저 미상물로 다 이시샤야 말았다. Too positive 자들 야부시라야 말았다. 근데지 시게 다 이미네. 이나 나디 positive 자들이야. this large.
Last
다 더버를 지금 망고시 제비나 too much 제비나 딱 하나지 소수 셈리야 다지 캐르강 그 삼로서 말을 다지 lonely르디 쇼처로에 버브제다 다나 신기 간다지 셈리야 다 강에 셈을 다지 셈리야 다 강에를 채요 그래서 다들 인도스탄 대균선대네 다 positive there is some understanding so 개명해 버리죠 통도
Last
다디 positive 자디 인지 미디 네 사바는 신지 고 야부인 녀바스게요 말아 이내 at least somewhere 다지 소수 셈리야 다 강에 용어를 좀 하지래 근데 패널 용기스러스
Last
이내 다 근데 삼다디 positive 자디 지잖아 가르쳐다 reality somewhere 뭐 니즈 토알이야 오늘 전에기 오늘 따다 되게 유명데 하고 말데 유명이야 참 대한 탑시지 이미지 다 되게 유명 탑시지 이미지 예 이제
That's so. Sometimes people, actually many times in my life, people have warned me not to be too positive, too optimistic. They have told me that that's a dangerous approach to living because if you're too positive or optimistic, then you won't be aware of the dangers that are present. You won't be sufficiently cautious of potential sources of harm and so forth. But I've always reverted to my own instincts in that regard because I find positive thinking to just be easier. And
I'm with you.
and I find the mindset of continual suspicion to be too heavy of a burden to carry and very much conducive to a feeling or sense of loneliness. So having a positive attitude or having habits of thinking in positive ways, I think, are basically equivalent to having less hardship in life overall. And that doesn't mean that one's positive thoughts, one doesn't always have to believe that one's positive thoughts are 100% in harmony with reality, but one can simply see one's attitude as a method to generate more well-being for oneself.
다나 신기 the mindfulness ke share da di ngade di da ngazo ru시면 다지 참참 니면인가 지 대화 차버를 체 레디잖아 내가는 망보 체 되버질이야 난 공다 실로 겸 삼던 주사네 내가 망보 체 되버질 오늘 전에 지 수수 셈리야 지 셈리야 샤네 다 나랑 들리지 셰베 인사버지 이츠버지 들리지 내가지 첸도 담도 삼던 주사한테 들리시라 매데버지 내가 망보 체버질이야 오늘 전에 유수수 이츠버지 셈라 샤 지 셈레 샤네 지 가르쳐다지 샤웨버들이 매베소지 그래서 다디 조디 아주 지 마인드풀니스나 장도 간다르 가르쳐베 걸리는 디가 이제 포커스
라서
맞아야 봐면 다지 네급 디다 가르쳐 다 좋아 마냥 바르시 근데 그 토한다 요한데 매너 something 제가 두스
라서
드레인 주스안에 아주 얘기다 가르쳐 촉시 있어야지 natural wealth sommar부터 간다지 소수 랑킹한기 디기 영하기 다 가르쳐 방조를 차대야래 이내야 촉시 영바 채블이야 mindfulness sommar부터 간다 수수기 된데 가르쳐다지 focus on the sort of the moment sommar부터 근데 맞아버도 영함에 봤어
라서 So you mentioned, Dan, earlier that a lot of people's focus happens when they're working.
That's right.
And
No, distraction, actually.
I see, distraction.
Yes.
Right.
distraction
But a lot of their most intense mental activity happens when they're working.
That's true.
During the day.
Yes.
And one might think that, well, if one engaged in a lot of work during the daytime, then when one had free time in the evening, there would be a sense of contentment, recollecting, oh, I did so much work today, I'm happy about that. But that's not the case. That's not what usually happens in our work lives. We're somehow unable to have that sense of contentment and mental satisfaction about all the work we had done throughout the day. So that seems to indicate the need for mindfulness and a sense of focus so that we can actually appreciate what we had done earlier.
Correct.
And that is very connected to this Buddhist principle of contentment, of contentment, which is really a great source of natural wealth. If we have contentment, if we're able to be content about what we have done, then well-being will arise effortlessly and naturally. But without mindfulness and the ability to focus, it's very difficult to have contentment.
다 제가 들이야 지금 가서 냠뇽지 배수를 주비나 아니면 질이야 당하는 유대스 드람사를 고메나 대요 싫어 샤도 맞다 싫어 진 드라이브 데 콤바텔 꼬라지니 지게
Lasso?
들려주세 네 텔레야지 상사다 미망고지 제일 교육에서 텔레 데버스 게면도
Lasso?
안다 이미네 삼삼 꼬라 주요래 데 꼬라 주두스라네 팅지레 니면 질이야 아니 남시디 야부르 제베서 제 고라게 프로듀서네 아니 루브르도지 소소다 가쇼에 지 로데도 산다 우당게 예베 소아르지 계속
Lasso?
다 우당게 예베 소아 계속 사데 지다시는 다 우당당 하르지 다 이내다 우리야지 포커스 차르지 다 들지 정신 그대로 총소
Lasso?
이 준비 걸려야 랑기 소소드나 우당게 예베 신두 산에 급디두 산에 랑기 디기 소나르지
Lasso?
디기 사디 지 수순 듄이야 예비지다 ngaram tada yue debichi redo asam san dichi sonar chu
Lasso. Just to share a little story from my own experience about mindfulness and appreciation or contentment. Of course, I live in Dharamsala in my usual day-to-day life, and when I live in this monastery in the Dharamsala area, I don't get to go out of the monastery a lot. Sometimes the biggest excursion I have is to do 1 or 2 circumambulations around the building that I live in. And then even then, sometimes a lot of people follow me around and so forth. But nevertheless, I was on one of these excursions. I was walking outside the building that I live in one day, and the weather was nice and calm, and I just had a very simple experience of noticing that I was breathing. Looking out into the environment and having a very simple acknowledgement that I was breathing. And then along with that came this very strong but simple feeling of happiness and an awareness that happiness is something that is present within me already.
다 들으라고 해 준선데 가라서는 당 아주지 다 옥시준 사디 다지 디 사지 말에다 그뒤네지 추주 까마치지 때 당고를 균세면 당고요 아래 다데 매위나 시쟁 아주 최소사디 균체입니다
Lasso?
다 이내 디지 요아디 딘데기 차기에서는 오다 그 튕기엔르디 다지 지기的自信拿在옥시준데 영원체 답에 오지리양 오늘은 딱 고라지 규림서 말이다 규겐 딘지 다 딘데 다 동상 먹고 정보 알았지 대야다 지 뭐인바 간다티 균세면도 당고 알았지 민주산 딘지지기 간다 뇽저 차보 규림 뇽저 차보 딘지지 깔아하버시 이미네 땡아 한수기 배지 레라버시네 아 소리야지 예대비지다 아주 동초초로 드리게되디 그래서 먼저게 해야지 드리지래서 말이지 대소
Lasso. So in this moment that I had of appreciating my breath, the contemplation continued along the lines of what things need to come together in order for me to breathe. So I need to breathe in oxygen, but where does that oxygen come from? It comes from the plants, trees, and so forth. And it's not the case that I just need to breathe in once a day and have a little bit of oxygen at that time, but hundreds and thousands of times, and there has to be oxygen available every time. And for that oxygen to be available in turn, there's so many thousands of causes and conditions that have to cooperate with each other in what is a very actually complicated way. So it's not so easy to bring all of these conditions together for there to be oxygen for me to breathe in, but it happens, and it's readily present for me and available for me as a support. And my insight at that time, in that moment, was this is a really amazing, wondrous thing.
드린 주사는 네 냠뇨로 가라서는 가서지 happiness 하든 아주 넘기지 녀로 사오르지 딱깔래 망고게 아니지 내가 망고체 우리 망고 싸다 늘지 더네지 happiness 요하르지 아주 something 거르데 이네 오늘 전에 happiness 하디 지 simple things 말해 지잖아 다 남규기 남규지당기 내주용 아주 도나시다 뭐좀 딘지기 내주를 되네 아주 happiness 요하르지
Lasso?
마다베 아주 삼대야지 녀로 사버디지 happiness 요하데 디스 커버시도
Lasso?
happiness 하디 아주 참서 최 냠을 제거를 되는 시에 최 냠내 로망부 제제제제 타마르 뉴스ane 어다 타마르 오늘 지내지 수수 된다로 또 니들 레라고 싶지래도 오망아랑 맛이 가라이나서 없지
Lasso.
오망아랑 맛이 니 레라고 싶지래도 와서 없지 다들이 뉴스한 디제 전화로도 이거래도 제가
맞아.
마인드풀니스 뭐라고 되더디
Mm-hmm.
제가 저희 온다 말이죠
Lasso. Mm-hmm. My experience of happiness has always been that it's an appreciation of things that are very simple, and that our habitual approach to trying to gain happiness is one of relating to complexities, trying to work very hard, get lots of money, do all kinds of things, and that usually leads us to be unhappy if that's where all of our efforts are and attention is focused. So my experience of happiness is that it has a lot to do with paying attention to things that are very ordinary, that we usually miss out on appreciating in our day-to-day lives. And I think it's the same thing with spiritual practice as well. Sometimes if we have the opportunity to do many years of spiritual practice, we might gain insights that we then reflect on as being very simple and say to ourselves, oh, this is very simple. Why didn't I understand this before? I was totally just missing this very simple thing this whole time.
안타 타마디 generosity 살지 다데 임빈다 녜드지 가르지 미스나로다 개시 슈트 차데 여기를 섬트도 그래서다 로드윈 렘베커리아 까마바 임문 진시아베 제가 다디 까마바 문진 치아베티 나랑 개를 가르친 거였다 이제 가르친 거 알아서나 지당게 민나신다 소화게 하면 그렇지 이제 라와로다 다는 신기디 가서다지 라와다 소화다 상물로 게하면도 차브레
Lasso.
다들이 비슷딱 소소디 다 까마바 임버르시 차르던 베주르도 차브레 다 까마바 임버차사데 레라버지 가르브레다 텔레네다 강에르 망부 차브다 간다 까마베지 가르브레 지팅을 교환하데레 레라브스케 맵체 레인도 딘디직 토하네 강에르 망부 차인 주사네 안 참다다 딘디게다 다니즈 가르브레다 셈리아다 끝 가르브레다지 끝으로 망부 샤 충브레다 상무시에니 초스케미도 간다량 미 망부지 3년 나로래야 결혼 딘디직이 다 간다라 미 규머르지 딘디직이 다 간다라 베 가르브레지 데스 가르브레다 다버도 딘디직 균투이제 못투이제 로트비아 닝도브도 가데 충브레슬라비나 다티 조데 ngarangi ngwenen jenta jember ke tongmen da zodi 당에 미망부지 되냐면 제바치 야르 제가 미망부지 하랴 support 채바당 다나신 세와 채바당 디지게 토네 딱 한다 얘기 다 닝도스티 딱 한다 미신다는 지 좋은데 버시 늘 전화를 오늘도
Lasso.
나 되게 비슷하네 다 generosity समरता 지게 미스티다 generosity 다 generosity 게 파 generosity 같이 제도 유명하고 뭐도디 이내 미수 generosity 제샤브 디나로라 소화게 대배 소리다 드늘 좋아요 오늘도
Lasso.
제자디 generosity 기다 뉴버르제
Lasso.
다다버도 도스 대대디
Lasso.
시야마도 빠지 디링아데 유길 말했음 정도스
Lasso. Mm-hmm.
depression 차지
Lasso.
맹가나 유길
Lasso. And then just to say a few things about generosity. Of course, when I was 7 years old, I was recognized as the Karmapa. And so that became a big turning point in my life because in many ways I lost some of the freedoms of an ordinary person that they would expect to have. And there are many difficulties in the responsibilities that I was expected to assume in connection with sustaining the activity of this character or personage known as the Karmapa. And so a lot of people have asked me, how did you keep your spirit? How did you keep your spirits up in the face of all of these challenges? And my response has always been that I don't feel that it's because of any particular talent of my own, but that I have been greatly nourished by the support and generosity and love of others. And I really don't know how much I'm able to help others through me extending generosity to them, but due to the fact that others have extended generosity and support to me, that's the reason I think why I'm here today. And without that, I really don't feel that I'd be here today. I think I might be committed somewhere if it weren't for the generosity and support of others.
Your Holiness,
Thank you.
I heard you use the word depression. Was that the commitment?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, depression.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That he would basically sink into some type of desolation.
Well, we happen to have an expert on depression right here,
I know.
Sona
need you.
Tamidjim, who particularly studies depression in women after they have babies, which is
Yeah.
a big problem. So, Sona, please.
Thank you, Dan. I think maybe before I share with you some of these remarks, I want to first say, which my guess is echoes what a lot of people feel in their hearts right now, is just much gratitude for your comments and reflections and your teaching. So thank you. It's a great honor to be able to talk to you about this work that I have been doing for a long time now. And the work that you have been doing and the values that you represent in this world, I think, have been a great inspiration. So I want to talk about two questions in particular. One is both of which have to do with the broad topic of contemplative practice in women. And the first question is, in what ways are women vulnerable? And the second question is, to what extent can contemplative practice help to promote resilience or well-being among women? And as Dan was saying, a lot of my work focuses in particular on the problem of depression, which it's a broad category, what is meant when people use that word. In a clinical setting, when we talk about depression, we mean the experience of sadness that's persistent, and a loss of interest in the kinds of activities that used to be enjoyable to people. And that those persist in a way that make it hard for people to do the things that they normally do. And that go along with things like changes in people's appetite or sleep or energy level.
Oh, that means I have that.
I don't think so. One of the things we know about depression is that there's a gender gap in depression, so that in general, women experience double the odds of experiencing depression as men, and this gap begins in adolescence, so during teenage years, and it persists through adulthood, roughly 2 to 1 in terms of the rates of depression among women and men. And as Dan was mentioning, for women, much of this time period of risk overlaps with the time that for women who become mothers. For a long time, people thought that being pregnant was protective, and that because this was supposed to be the happiest time in a woman's life, she would not get depressed. In fact, we know that's not the case. That on average, 10 to 15% of women experience depression during these times, and that this risk is substantially increased if women have been depressed at any other time in their life as well. And this is important because depression is, it's hard not just on the woman, but it's also hard on the baby. And that there's evidence that the experience of having your mom be depressed can impact children long into their development. So one of the questions I think we have to ask is, what are we as a society and a world, what are we doing to help women in these ways in which they're vulnerable? And currently, the main response that we have as a society is prescribing antidepressant medication. some estimates suggest that 3/4 of women who are depressed during pregnancy and postpartum, that's the response to which they're given. This is of concern for a couple of reasons. One is that some research that some colleagues and I have done has suggested that for many people who are depressed, not all, but for many, the specific benefit of antidepressant is no greater. There is no specific benefit when we compare the rates of improvement among people who get medication to people who get a placebo.
Can you explain placebo?
Placebo sena ribu jumarua. Tene mensagye sam.
Oh, yeah.
Lao.
Okay. Candy.
Yeah, sugar pill, yeah. The other issue is that once people stop taking medication, there's no evidence that having been on an antidepressant helps protect you into the future. So essentially it works to the extent that it works as long as people are still taking it. The problem with that is that many people stop taking medication or they don't want to begin to take it in the first place. And this is, I think, where contemplative practices have a very important role. Psychological research has helped us to understand what are the ways in which people who have been depressed before are vulnerable to getting depressed again. And your comments about the mental habits that people can experience fits perfectly with what we have been learning from research. And what we know is that some of these habits not only help us understand why people get depressed again, but they help us understand why women are vulnerable, because they do some of these things. We as women do some of these things on average more than men. So I'll talk about two in particular. One is this idea of what's termed in the research cognitive reactivity. And what this means is that it's the way in which people's thoughts are reactive to their emotions. And these studies tend to look at the differences, say, between people who have been depressed in the past and people who haven't. And under normal conditions, their thoughts appear very similar. However, if you do things that make people sad, so you ask them to listen to sad music or recall sad times in their lives, people who have been depressed, their thoughts shift. They become more reactive. And
Can you give an example of a reactive?
yeah, they become more critical of the self,
Yeah.
more negative, as you were just talking about with that outlook, more negative about the future, and more negative about the world around them. And the degree to which someone's thoughts are reactive to their emotions in this way actually helps to predict, is this person going to be depressed in the future? So that's one of these mental habits, I think, that helps us understand vulnerability. The other is this idea of rumination, which is the way in which the mind can grasp on and
Yes.
okay, and it comes actually from the word ruminate, comes from the word to chew on. So it's literally the mind chewing. And ruminating on the experience of sadness, so that when sadness is present and rumination gets involved, the mind begins to ask, why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling sad? Why do these things always happen to me? Why do I have a harder time than other people? And won't let go of the kind of questioning. There have been, at this point, probably almost 60 studies with thousands and thousands of people that have shown that, in general, women are more vulnerable to ruminating than are men, and that rumination tends to make depression symptoms last longer and come back more often. This is exactly where contemplative practice, I think, can offer benefit. And that's where a lot of the research that I've done has focused. In particular, on an intervention called mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, which in a sense helps to train people, as you were describing walking and having the moment of noticing I'm breathing. It is exactly that experience that this intervention seeks to teach people to do under routine conditions like walking, but also at the times at which they're most vulnerable to depression returning. So a lot of the work that I do has focused on women during pregnancy or with young infants, when their baby is crying, when they can't soothe their baby. In those moments, under high stress, to notice I'm breathing. And to use that as a beginning point to begin to care for themselves and their baby more skillfully, as opposed to getting pulled and hijacked by these patterns of rumination and cognitive reactivity. The studies that we've done have suggested that this intervention, specifically with women during pregnancy and postpartum, helps significantly to protect them from depression returning. So a study that we just completed among women who did this intervention, only 20% experienced depression after their baby was born, as opposed to the comparison group of whom 50% of them experienced depression's return. This study is part of a larger group of researchers who are looking at ways in which contemplative practices can help women cope with experiences like depression or cancer or chronic pain. And I think at this point from the research, we can say with a lot of confidence that contemplative practices can help women develop resilience and well-being. There's still a lot of work, as you know, to be done. These mental habits, although we've been focusing on the way they occur within the individual, are also connected to the world around us. And women continue to disproportionately experience adversity in the world, biases due to gender, violence, economic inequalities. And the fact of these realities reminds us, I think, of the importance of this work, both for individual women and the world in which we live. Which I think I have so many questions I would love to ask, but I think I'll begin with the question which connects to a lot of the work that I'm doing in my lab right now, which is focused on, we know that we can utilize some of these skills of mindfulness to help cultivate individual well-being among women. But we also know that that it's important to develop communities of well-being. Mm-hmm. And I would be grateful for your reflections on both of those points. Specific practices that are relevant to women who are vulnerable, mm-hmm. and also broadly, practices that we may begin to explore that help us to develop communities of well-being for all of us.
Depression nyamlen kare pengyo yeba dang tane nipa di geragi tone zammayin ba chopa ge kone nyamdu yunden de zokan des kongdu bel belna pento yongire
당부들이야 등의 공기 차례들 나 차례들이야 애는 정하셔야다 공기 가서 뭐 망부질이야 다 펜도야 하듯이 이마치 듣지 이마치는 거진도 쉬어야.
Last Firstly, I'd just like to congratulate you and offer my praise to the work that you're doing and say that I really regard this as work that will benefit a lot of people.
Thank you.
다디 가르쳐다 다 남균 다 도시야 되다 다 맞지 남균 아주 가서 다지 template practice 뭐라
Lasa?
다지 냠샤 공기 지 냠내 토네 다 편도 이 emotional 아주 남균 가서서나 수수기 다 샘당 수수기다 정시대당 안 다나 신기의 뉴모델이야 예와로 체체 델이야 다가 예와체스는 장도 다 make difference somewhat 다들지 예와체하로 띵 아주 가스로다지 개침을 짜지 가라서 미망부지기 딱고라 진짜게 시스템이야 emotional 차베 급이야 소수 용조되지 emotionally overwhelmed 선한다도 소수 차상어디 다 간다르 녀몽기 정신을 차라 소나로 용디 가래
Lasa.
근데 이내 아주 하고 가야지 개시슈 가려왔으나 더디 emotional 차디 지가수로 아주 에 차시에 좀 맞도지 아주 다 가수로다 더디 수수 정시 뭐 들려야지 개바차로데 개첨부지 통되도스
Lasa. And then with regard to the individual practice, I would say that one really essential component of this is to recognize that there is a difference between ourselves and our emotions when we're experiencing them. And to the degree we can differentiate those two, that's the degree to which we won't be necessarily hijacked by our emotions when they arise, the strongest ones especially. So a lot of our spiritual practice then is aimed at making this clear distinction that this is an event that is arising, this is an event that's happening, and yes, it's happening to me, but no, it's not the totality of me, and I don't have to completely identify all of myself with this painful experience. So making that distinction and just having that knowledge is very important.
안드레인 주스나다 지 뉴모르도 준비했거리야 될지 수수 다고 겸마게 섬어베다지 근데지 수수리야 등진기 컨트롤 예브르지 다지 수수 당과치 하기 고급 예브르 스페이스 다드르지 예브티 다다가 주지 다디 메디테이션 다디 주토하는 스페이스 하디
Lasa?
Lasa?
So meditation then provides us a sense of space through which we can then maybe have a little bit more choice with regard to how much we're going to take that on as an identity, take this negative emotion on as an identity.
다나 신기 당기 수모단 신기 딱 한달 드리지 가르쳐다 수수변 emotional 차로를 제백급이야 focus 체스를 신다로 제비는 번지 breathing focus 자서 가다 focus 자 신다로 제비는 다 디텐덴지 가르쳐지 다 임빈에 다 딘디지 용바 체블이야 수수 mindfulness som어다지 수수기 간다르 디급이냐 딱 간다르 지 choice 자가 space 과 딱게 좀 차려
Lasa. So mindfulness becomes important because when the emotions arise, it's important for us to have some ability to direct our attention elsewhere. We don't always need to be having this painful thing that's occurring to be the only thing that's on our mind. And when we cultivate this faculty of mindfulness within ourselves, then we can direct our attention towards a different object, even if it's the breath, as you mentioned, or any other object.
남기용 아주 다 검게도 사람 녀모를 지들 용배 커돌리야 녀몬데 가르쳐듯이 object 인접치 subject sort 맞지 object 소수에게 다 간다라 지 삼동사로 지 이제 간다라 가지고 mikbat에서로 이제 임바지 삼로 땅체 엘다 녀모사디 간다지 임바 네 코랑지 가르전신데 바삼 다지당게 미세 다지 삼망부 동과에 이제 다가지 가르쳐다 디기 오들 바 대체 에너지 가서 relax 잘 지당 다는 focus 잘 진짜 탑식 도안에 전신기 가서다 삼시다 망보지당 아직 망보지당 망보지 가시 삼단토래 가시기 더 지베기 균센다 진짜 삼단토래 이는 미망보지기 진짜 균센 삼단다 저기 디스카보도 와
Lasso.
네 진짜 균센 삼단 먹어지 just 소머부터 지 고슬이야 진짜 제주잖아 내가 도안에한테 내 편도를 연대하듯이 통계
But on the other hand, it sometimes can help to look at our emotional experiences as objects rather than being completely identified within them in a subjective way. And part of the meditation techniques that we learn is to just kind of set our emotions in front of us and look at them with some sense of distance between ourselves and them, but just to rest our attention on them with some sense of curiosity. What is this? And when observing or looking at our emotions in this way, encouraging also a feeling of being relaxed while we're doing this. Not necessarily intensely looking and not necessarily intensely thinking about the emotion, but just observing with a relaxed state of mind. Some people will be able to bring in a little bit of analysis if they're familiar with philosophical tenets or logic that might help them to dismantle the solidity of their emotion, but that's not necessarily required. Just a sense of observing the emotion, having a bit of distance from it, and relaxing while we are applying that focus can be very beneficial.
다이는 커뮤니티 사태는 개좀 쉽시다. 가다 미지리아 다 강해를 체대비나 다디 냠도지 미망고지데 냠도지 sharing 자야 비지다. 다는 지지리아 가르쳐다지 support 자다. 다는 신기 지 인도 빠르 자로. this 예비 되는 얘기 해봐십시다. 용대 예비지.
Lasso.
드리드자 디 균전데네 다디 individual practice som어보다 등기 대양지 community 나는 예비나 고지 인도 파야다.
맞아.
슈셰를 주의했었지.
Lasso.
then you start the 균전데네 미세기 community practice다. individual practice 아주 가르지 과다 개면도.
맞아.
이네 조도 과다 가르서나 community 예비나 지기질이야지. 심쇼 빠르 자다. 다나 신기 안에 더지 지 소소기 거도를 가려야 대바시 기도 가려야 sharing 자야 돼. 계십니다.
Lasso. And then, in terms of community, I think that whatever benefits we would get from practicing in that way as an individual would only increase in the context of practicing together with others in a community. Not only that, but the mere presence of a community gives us an opportunity to share our experience, whether it be joys or sorrows. That act of sharing can be healing in itself, and the mere presence of others can also be tremendously supportive and encouraging. So we don't necessarily need to regard, if we're in a practice, if we're in a community of individuals who are practicing, doing contemplative practice together, we don't necessarily need to regard individual practice and community practice as separate things.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Holiness. We have just a little time. I'm aware that rest is important too. But do either of you have a follow-up question for His Holiness?
Yeah.
Or do you have a question for them, Your Holiness?
Yeah. I can ask another time.
Well, maybe we can, Your Holiness, there is another area of research which I wanted to very briefly tell you about because I think it relates to some of your interests, and it's a new area that is emerging now in neuroscience, and it goes back about 15 years to an idea that was first developed by the great evolutionary biologist at Harvard, E.O. Wilson. And he had this word that he used called biophilia. And biophilia means an innate disposition in humans to be around nature, to be part of nature. And he suggested that this was something innate in humans, wanting to be close to nature. And it took 15 years or so, but neuroscientists have begun to study this. And it turns out that if you do something very simple, such as invite people, if you bring a group of people in and have one group of people take a walk in a city, and another group of people, say for 10 minutes, and another group of people take a walk also for 10 minutes, but in a park where there is a lot of green space. And then they come back to the laboratory after just 10 minutes. It turns out their brains are different, just after 10 minutes of exposure to nature. And there's research that indicates that being in nature is beneficial. It stimulates certain circuits in the brain. It actually reduces stress hormones, like there's a stress hormone cortisol, very important in our health, and it reduces that. It also improves certain aspects of our thinking, of our cognitive function. And so this work, I think, is gaining in importance. And I wonder, Your Holiness, if you can comment on ways in which we can all educate ourselves to be more sensitive to our interdependence with nature so that we can recognize this innate biophilia, which I think is present in all of us.
Biophilia. Titi 가서 당한테 전화로 짐벌 주제 배나 ngana gesa de chundu gesa de ta khanda rangjung khuru driji nanol lumba kugyo rangjung khuyu driji ya ji ta khanda yangshin gyachewe da ji zathang driji nanol gebre de gidu san di gyunsen tene ta de ta lo dyuni khatene yangar de ngara phoyil lo thu yo marde ina chamsa de par thoyon de ji sambji bor chade Hindustan da di rangjung kuru da nubarabdi da shuchum sharaisha. Samsung chongge din Hindustan anji rangshin ki kor chongge di kuyu din le Hindustan rangshin ji busu da chayan ji da samde kashba da ji depress samro da de ji yong de har ba ji yong de do. And the Hindustan di gyunsen tene ane dendengi nga suji karshure digi yongale kuranjung kuyu sadi anta karshure da chi karshure da chi zidu ranjung kuyu di chi karshure azu chi zidu namba tsamayi ba kanda digi nga suli ya chi chi namba tsamayi nang semli ya denden azu dreba chigi yabichi jazang azu nangbeg tuan chi Hindustane namgyuji sanga nanglo dwa ji shedu sane anji nanggi lubyugi nedanda and chi gi kada ranjung khuyu dan jabar de ta shirashya yore ta de ni zu kharjre
Lasso.
ta biophilia and rejre ta
Lasso.
ta de rishya ba
Rela.
de jinji den kam nang do ji lu de ji hen
Lasso. I really have a strong feeling about this concept because the place where I was born was a very isolated area in eastern Tibet, very beautiful area, very rich in natural beauty. And when I was 7 or so, I had to be separated from that place, and I haven't been able to return since then. But sometimes even seeing pictures of that place now makes me happy, just to see a picture. So this illustrates the power of connection between our mind and the natural environment. And sometimes when I'm traveling and spending extended time in cities, then I feel that it naturally promotes a sense of cloisteredness or feeling narrow. It's a little bit depressing sometimes. And so I definitely feel that the natural environment is connected to our well-being, and is not just a matter of creating a beautiful appearance or a nice-looking visual image, but it's intimately connected with our mind. And related to that, I think there are teachings in the Vajrayana school of Buddhism that address this connection. The Vajrayana teachings talk about the relationship between the inner Vajra body and the outer environment, and how these two are intimately connected. And I think that might be really the Vajrayana version of biophilia.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
You're always going to say what that connection is? A little bit?
Connection is tadi kanaslo tadi ta jidangi penata dre ju shabi ne jumru besuen shabi imna ane ritual ya de dinge da ritual de gom gyab de da lama de yare ane dizugi penda dawa danzin chabe kan dawa da danzin charba
Lasso?
moon
Full moon.
eclipse
Oh, eclipse, lasso.
da di gablia ane kuzu misegi ta karjun danzin yeba hama wache an kuran su gom gyab de be gablia ane ji subu ne dang thwane ane ji o da danzin yesares
Lasso.
di she
Oh,
ya
lasso.
chilolia rudustan ane korlamsa danzin yebar de 시야도 비용이 가래.
Lasso?
다디 가래서나 지 아주 초진 시합이나 센시티브 서버 수수기 다 미망고지 딱 아주 망고지 가주에 다지 artificial world 서버 다지 베 딘디지가 나로 총계 나로 예대 미망고지 artificial world 딘디지가 나로 살로 중제 다 딘디 센시티브 시라를 용매면 소지 다이네 카시 리추얼이야 데 and kandar ne member the sul die da ranjung ku da tani bo de du san and kuzugi da and da luidan sem thone and da kandar di chona ro di karbe ranjungi chi ranjung yuada nangi semgi chona ro di debash da tambo chedo gu yab ji da
Lasso?
de thone chedo gu yab ji de du san da di dindiji yang kwar karbe ji practice ji yede bi ji
Lasso? I don't know what to say about it as far as explaining the principle, but to give an example, of course, there are many masters who do extensive retreats in isolated areas. And there are some stories and legends about these masters that they could actually recognize when an eclipse was occurring, not through being informed of it, for example, on the news, but through observing their own body and mind. So there are stories of practitioners who, without having been told that an eclipse was going to occur, they would just be closely observing the state of their body and mind in their meditation, and in particular the movement of prana or wind within their body, and the insight would occur to them, oh, I think there must be an eclipse today, and they would go outside and check, and there would be the eclipse. So this indicates a level of sensitivity, I think, that one could achieve through being close to the natural environment. A lot of us now live in what we might call an artificial world through having too much separation from the natural environment. But if we get a chance to slow things down, rely on a place of solitude for a while, and be close to the natural environment, then we might notice that this appreciation of this very intimate connection between the outer environment and the movement of the outer elements and the connection it has with the movement of the inner elements of our body.
Yes.
Speaking of being sensitive to the body,
Yeah.
I know that rest is important for you, Your Holiness,
Thank you.
these days.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you on behalf of all of us in this living room
Thank you.
for having shared your wisdom and insight with us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So thank you so much for joining us, everyone. We just witnessed a pretty amazing dialogue. Sometimes you put a group of people on a stage and you don't know what's going to happen, but tonight it obviously worked. This was a tremendous gift to all of us, so thank you so much for coming. And in particular, I think on behalf of all of us here, I just want to thank all of you for the tremendous work you're doing in the world. I think in each of your own way are making a massive difference in the lives of so many people. So thank you so much for the work. And Your Holiness, in particular, on behalf of the university and the community, I just want to say that you always have a home here in Madison, and we hope you return again and again. So thank you again for joining us.